hello.
Oh, hello.
And welcome to the Comic Queens podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie. And today we are super excited to have you here in the month of March. We are really excited about some of the titles that Manta has coming back and just some of the titles that are going to be premiering this month. So we decided today we're going to do a little bit of an overview of some of the series that are returning, kind of give you a synopsis of the series in general so that you're all set up for success for catching up with the new seasons that are releasing. And then we'll talk about some of the new titles that are coming out. So to start us out, one of the huge notifications that I saw was that Wake Up Warrior was coming back to Manta. This is huge because it has not been released. Season 3 ended October 18th of 2022. So it's been a hot minute.
This is also huge news because it's a reverse harem about a sheep, which if there was anything that Annie wants to read, it's a reverse harem about a sheep.
We did it.
We've
The
made it.
podcast can end now because my
please.
life is complete. I have found my sheep story. But yes, it is about a sheep hybrid woman. I love her. Her name is Kakana. And she's a healer. So Kakana is just kind of living her best life in isolation. She has a little cottage in the middle of the death forest. So it's surrounded by all these deadly plants, which is fine for her because since she's familiar with herbology, she knows what to avoid. It's totally fine. She just kind of gets to live by herself, gather all the little herbs she wants, and it's totally fine. This is like her perfect ideal life. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when she goes to open her door one day, she finds 5 extremely big and intimidating men standing outside her door. And they're like, oh, hello, we've been looking for you. To be honest, I'd be scared.
I was going to say, is it fortunate or unfortunate?
I mean, they're pretty okay men. If we're being honest. But so these men basically come up to her. They're like, we know who you are and we need your help. And she kind of tries to ice them out for a while, like literally just shuts the door and like cries in her bed. She's like, they'll leave. It's fine. They don't. They're there for like 3 days.
I resonate with that energy.
And so she finally invites them in and they all kind of introduce themselves. And they're basically like this group of warriors that has been working together for an extremely long time. It is made up of Snowa Kalissus. He is a wizard and a human. Adar Aroa. He's also a human and he's an assassin. We have Halric Galopsa, who is the mercenary leader for a human mercenary guild. Mm-hmm. Chalice Maladas, who is a sword master, also a human. And Armore Dower, who is the king of dragons, and he is also a hybrid. So in this world, you have humans, beasts, and hybrids who are essentially mixed between either a beast or an animal and a human. Mm-hmm. And Kakana is a hybrid. She's a sheep woman. And one, I think you would resonate with her a lot because very early on in the story, it like starts out with her having hair struggles. She's like, do you know how hard it is to have big curly hair?
Oh my gosh.
You can't brush it. And she just goes on and on about how the hair care is just such a process.
Yeah.
And like, I love that that was her struggle for the day.
Hence the huge chop that I just did on myself.
Exactly.
It's too much. I can't deal with the big curly hair. You can't brush it. She's not wrong.
I know. So, Kakana's already got it figured out. But essentially, all these men come up to her and say, we really need your help. We've actually sought you out personally because you may not remember this, but Snowa had been taken captive by the Empire, and she ended up she was too scared to kind of intervene and try to save him outright, but she ended up slipping him a potion that would help him heal from his injuries and leaving. And that ended up being the potion that he needed to escape from the Empire's grasp and come and find her, essentially. And you find out that all 5 of these men have been poisoned by the Empire and they need an antidote that doesn't exist. So they're like, you make good potions. Help us. Like, help figure out what's going on.
So it's not a fast-acting poison thing.
No. But so basically what they explain is that in this world, there is magic and mana. And essentially, they had gotten a little too strong for their britches. Mm-hmm. And the Empire felt extremely threatened by them. So they basically took them captive, fed them a poison that essentially leaches all of the mana out of them. And they were then trying to take that mana and infuse it into stone so that they could use it for themselves. So essentially what she's trying to do is like help them get this back. She's immediately frightened. She literally just wants to live her life alone and in peace. And she ends up accepting mostly because they won't take no for an answer. Like they start offering her like, oh, we'll give you protection from the mercenary guild, or I'll make you a bunch of magical items and all this stuff. And then finally, like the assassin, Adar, just goes, I know where to find a bunch of really rare herbs. And she's like, sold. Let's do this.
She's got her priorities set. I love it.
She has her priorities set. So she ends up basically like taking these 5 guys in. She's like, you have to stay here. Like, I'll treat you here. I don't go anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And she starts treating them with like acupuncture. It's so funny because she's this like frail little sheep human and the men are terrified of her. They're like, I hate this acupuncture. And she's like hunting them down. They have like dramatized versions of her stabbing them with these needles.
Oh my gosh.
Because the men just hate it. But essentially she's trying to like untangle the mess of mana inside of them, help them to kind of like realize their powers again. And then she wants to send them on their way. Meanwhile, this does stir up some issues because all of these different warriors are wanted by the Empire for escaping. And so when she goes to a village to try to get more herbs to help treat them, they end up getting spotted. And because she's spotted with the assassin, like now she's a wanted person too. And it's just kind of all the attention she didn't want. Mm-hmm. So automatically she's like, we can't do this. And on top of it, she's now a woman living amongst men, which I think we can all kind of relate to is not a very like intuitive process. Sometimes men don't know the things you're going through, but especially because she's a hybrid, the majority of people don't understand what's going on when she's going through a heat cycle. So she ends up doing this. The guys are like, oh man, I must stay away from her because I'm just too charming. And realistically, like the King of Dragons, Amore, has to kind of say, no, you're literally fine. Like she's not just going to come on to anybody. Like she just probably wants to be like close to somebody. She wants some comforting. Like it's not a big deal. So they basically devise this plan. They realize very quickly now she's a wanted person for just interacting with them in general. And the Empire is now on their coattails. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the quiet, peaceful life that the Kakana wanted for herself, she's not going to get that back. Like, she is now a wanted person. They basically have to pack up her entire house, and they're just trying to, like, find a way to essentially, like, find a new place to settle down.
I hope those herbs were worth it.
Yeah, I mean, to her, they probably were. She's kind of an herb nerd. But she ends up saying, like, because this has become so dangerous for me, I'm going to try to expedite this as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And so she has a way to try to channel their mana that will essentially release a beam of light. Like, it will essentially let all of the mana out at once, and she can, like, in real time, untangle it herself. And this apparently speeds up the process very quickly. Because she's like, this is like a 3-year treatment plan. And I don't feel like I have this time. Like, I want them gone because it's a risk to me at this point. So, you know, you kind of see all of these flashbacks while she's treating them. You see, like, what looks like a very dark past where people are basically telling her, like, go be lost and, like, never be found.
Aww.
And, like, she's trash. And you do find out that these hybrids are treated like animals. They're essentially, like, abused by humans. And so it makes sense why she's been so hesitant to be around the men, but they really have grown to care for her. Like, every single one is extremely protective of her. Like, they are so indebted to her at this point because she's not really asking for anything in return. Like, they've offered her help, but not really.
So did the dragon hybrid, did he experience that same thing or not? Because, like, I feel like dragons...
King of Dragons hasn't really experienced it. He's very much a highborn. And you learn along with it that these men are, like, very experienced and very old. Like, when people have the flow of magic through them, they essentially stop aging. So she doesn't even know how long they've been around. Mm-hmm. Like, they're basically, like, great-great-great-grandparent age. And she's just like, I mean, they look like they're my same age, so it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. But essentially, one of them ends up volunteering. He's like, if you want to treat the mana and all of the others, I will stay behind with you. And so the Swordmaster Chalice essentially starts working with her to prep for them to do this huge release of mana so she can start treating them. But they have to, like, kind of devise some protective measures. So she introduces the guys to her pet, quote unquote, which is a basilisk. And everyone is like, what the fuck? That's not a pet.
So fun.
And she's like, oh, she has like a spray bottle. Like, she's just like, you're misbehaving and I'm gonna spray you. And the basilisk immediately settles down.
More and more I'm feeling that I do relate to her.
I know, she's great. And she's able to, like, she's so good with the herbology that she's able to, like, make them a medicine that doesn't paralyze them when they look into the eyes of the basilisk. Like, she's so practiced in her craft that, like, the guys are very confident. They've chosen the person that they need to in order to really get back to being themselves again. Mm-hmm. So they do this super intensive process where Chalice essentially is the sole person protecting all of them while this mana process goes through. And Chalice is getting himself injured. Like, he's going up against an army of Imperial soldiers. Mm-hmm. And he's fending them off, but, like, he doesn't have his full powers back. He only has whatever the acupuncture helped to release. And so he's kind of fighting a little disabled at this point. And essentially the entire group has to run away, and Kakana ends up getting hit by an arrow.
Oh, no.
So Snowa, who is the wizard of the group, he ends up looking at her. He goes, I know this poison. It's going to kill her in 2 days. Like, we have to find somebody to heal her. And they end up trying to take her to this priest, but they don't know what to do. Like, the person they came to was her, and she's dying. So Halric ends up busting down the doors of the mercenary guild, and he ends up demanding that they find a high priest who can treat her. Mm-hmm. And the priest is like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm trying all of these treatments and it's not working. And so they're all just basically accepting that she's died. And it turns out you kind of see her consciousness, and she's like, they're all misdiagnosing me. It's just a paralytic. I'm literally fine.
Oh, I love it.
So she basically ends up getting treated. They're totally fine. Since the project was a success and she was able to release all of that mana for them, like, a lot of them are working, you know, with a lot more power than they were before. And Snowa basically makes them all these magical items where they're able to put themselves in disguises, like, permanently while they're wearing these rings, mm-hmm. so that they won't get caught. And so automatically it's kind of like a leveled up experience of running away from the Empire, because not many people are on his magical level at this point to be able to kind of debunk whatever is going on. Mm-hmm. So they basically end up going and staying with the mercenary guild, where they just kind of, like, try to figure out where they're going to put their roots down. And Snowa says, we really need to find these magical artifacts. Like, I had a staff, and, you know, Adar had his own little, you know, just, like, knife that he used that he was able to channel his mana into. And we have to find these magical items. And the mercenary guild is like, well, we can maybe help you with that. You have to help us with defeating these ghouls. And they go on all these different side quests. And essentially, after they do all of the help for the mercenary guilds, they realize that what they're going to have to do to track down these magical items is enroll in one of the schools. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we leave off in season 1, is all of them decide that they're going to college. They're all going to a magical college. They have to just kind of figure out a way to blend in, and that's it.
I love it.
Season 2 starts out with them doing their college entrance exams. And obviously Kakana's extremely nervous. She's in a disguise, but, like, That's a lot of, faith that she has to put in this magical item to continue working.
That's also a lot of people that you have to interact with. Going back to school after being isolated by yourself has got to be a huge change.
Yeah, she's experiencing all of the changes. And you do see as she continues to grow, like she does still have those triggering moments where you kind of get flashbacks of what she's been through. But at the same time, like you do see her comfort level growing. Like she's able to rely on these men and they're able to rely on her. And so they do form like that really healthy relationship. And honestly, it's kind of the camaraderie that she's needed because it's not healthy to be alone like that the whole time. So she goes back to school. She takes the herbology exam and like you just see this stressed face on her and she's like, this has to be a trap. Like they're tracking me down. They know that I'm here because the test is so easy. Like she finishes it in like 10 minutes. It's like write down the scientific name for this herb, the general name for the herb, what side effects it has, etc. And she finishes it immediately and submits it. And it immediately gets flagged by like the TA or the, professor's assistant. And he goes up to this professor who looks like a mad scientist. And he goes, this person got a perfect score on their exam. He goes, no, she cheated. So he invites her in for an interview, basically brings her in just to berate her. And he's like, there's no way that you did this. And Kakana kind of like goes out of her shell and gets very upset at him not believing in her skills. And she's like, maybe you should have made the test harder. And so she's able to like go into his laboratory and name every single plant that's there, name all of its properties, etc. And the professor basically cries of happiness.
Oh my gosh. That also, I think that's what happens in NPCs too, isn't it? That he like does really well in the magic exam and then the professor cries.
Yes. And he is so happy. It's very funny because the way they portray him early on, his name is Professor Bibros. And they just portray him as this mad scientist looking guy. Realistically, like once you kind of get to know his character a little bit, he's just kind of bored with the academia of it because all of these students don't find his topics interesting and they don't know or retain any of the information. So I think he's just really like depraved and wanting that connection with somebody on something he loves.
Yeah.
And he finally found that in a student. He immediately is like, I don't care that you're a freshman. You're my assistant now. And he like tells all of his students, he's like, this is my assistant. She is immediately looked down upon because everybody else is of noble birth. And because they had to use fake names, they're known as commoners. And so she kind of has all these people kind of trying to go after her, including this girl, Colina, who she puts on this like really nice air that she's just wonderful and perfect. And she's the class president and she's just so protective of everybody. And then she'll like whisper little snide things to Kakana, who's like, I don't understand this woman. Like, what is she doing?
What is happening?
But so very quickly, they kind of form this rivalry where Kalina's goal is to just make Kakana look incompetent, which is impossible because she's extremely practiced in her craft.
Yeah.
So the swordsmanship group, who two of her colleagues went to, both Halric and Chalice went to go and study swordsmanship. They end up doing a monster hunt with their department. And the herbology group is able to do like essentially the healing from this monster hunt. And this is their test. So the swordsmanship group gets to like hunt down all of the monsters and the herbology group gets to treat them. And that's how they're both tested. But Colina essentially gives this herb to one of her classmates that has a fever. It like makes him have a fever and a bunch of other like really weird symptoms. She's like, she'll never figure this out because it was a monster hunt and she should only be treating bruises. And then I'll make her look stupid. And Kakana picks up on it immediately. So she starts freaking out and Kalina ends up basically giving Kakana this nightmare herb, which just like puts them to sleep for a minute, gives them some nightmares, and then they wake up. The problem is that it feeds off of what's in your head and your negative emotions. And Kakana has so much bottled up negative emotion from her past and her traumas that she ends up basically going into a coma.
Aww.
So Kalina is freaking out. She has no idea what to do. And Armor basically says, I'm going to send all of us into this dream. And our goal is that we have to make things happy for her. And so all of the men get a background look into the entire hard life that she's had, which is extremely sad. She basically was taken captive as a hybrid and looked down upon and was watching all of her friends and family die at the hands of just this absolute maniac woman. And she watches this woman kill all of her friends and family, and she's trying her hardest to like revive them or help heal them, and she can't.
Aww.
And so the guys basically go into the dream, and one by one, a lot of them end up leaving because they can't keep their own emotions in check based on what they're seeing. And so Kakana's consciousness throws them out. And so Armor and Snow are able to stay, and they basically are able to bring her back to reality of what the situation is. And they help to project her consciousness into a stuffed sheep for her professor so that he's able to work with her on what her consciousness is and how he can make an antidote so that she can come back out of this. And she does. Essentially, the way that the season ends, you do see that she has some weird run-ins with some students. There's one person who had like walked past her in the library, and for some reason, he had some magic that was really out of whack and ended up reacting with her ring to the point that he could tell she was in disguise.
But did he know who she was?
He doesn't know who she was, but he knows that she's not who she says she is.
Yeah.
And so you see him and Kakana end up having a run-in at the end of this season where one of the students comes up and says, oh, by the way, the professor's looking for you in the potions room. And it's the student who ends up like going to try to stab her. He's like, I know that it's you. And she's terrified. She has no idea who this is. She's like, it is me. And basically this black fog ends up surrounding her throat and starts choking her. But Snowa had basically already put some magical device in her that made it so that if she ever got injured, he could find her. So he's like able to be there right away. All 5 of them come to protect her. They're like, this is dark magic. So a dark wizard is at play here. And essentially the way that it leaves off is you also see Kalina finally getting kind of the justice by her mom berating her. And her mother is the woman that had taken Kakana captive.
Oh.
So where we've left off is in season 3. There are a lot of different subplots and things happening in general, but Kakana kind of starts to get this weird after effect of like hearing voices screaming, and she doesn't really know where it's coming from. They are, however, making a lot of progress at the Moros University of finding all of these different magical artifacts and like just some hints in general on how to find it. And they're trying to track down this magic sage that they know has the staff in hand. And his name is Aresa. And they end up finding him in these tunnels underneath the school. So Snowa ends up revealing himself. He's like this old man. He's like, oh, we've been waiting for you. And then when he goes back to his true form, he's like a little child. Like he's a very small child who's drowning in his cloak, and he's like, you're back. But it turns out like they end up finding the magic staff, and now they're trying to hunt down everything else. They end up following the coordinates that are given to them by the high mages, and essentially everything is different. Like it was supposed to be a dragon's lair, and it's all been like mown down, and it's like a village now. So they have no idea what they're doing, where they're going. They end up participating in the town's tournament because they're like, I guess we just need to figure out whatever is going on here, and maybe that's the best way to do it. And it's funny because there are only allowed to be 5 participants, and Armor decides to sit out. So he forces Kakana to go into this group of warriors. And she's mortified. She's like, I can't do this. But it's such a like low level, like nonchalant fight for them that they end up doing rock, paper, scissors to see who has to stay behind as a punishment to protect Kakana. And the other two get to take on the like 100 men in the tournament.
Oh my gosh.
And so basically Snowa just like lays down a blanket and Kakana gets to read the whole time. And I thought it was the cutest thing ever. But anyways, as they participate in this tournament, they kind of get a feeling that something weird is happening. The prize for winning the tournament is a fairy blood potion. And she's like, that's weird. I don't feel like a fairy would willingly just give you their blood. Like, how are they able to do this year end, you know, to like give these people this as a prize?
Yeah.
And basically, like, she keeps hearing these different screams in her head. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. And they basically end up realizing that this is like a really deep scandal of the fairy blood that they started giving people is basically like a drug. Like, it's not supposed to be ingested by people. And so they start doing experiments on these fairies, on all of these animals, and Kakana was able to hear it. And when they go to save all of these animals and the fairies that have been experimented on, this fairy basically says, I've never felt more at peace in somebody's presence. And she recognizes Kakana as something called the Holy Tree. So that's basically where we leave off in the series in season 3. There's obviously so much other stuff happening. I mean, there are 80-something episodes at this point. And all of the different romantic moments, I don't want to spoil for everybody because I have some personal favorite men in the group, which just happens to be all of them for their own reasons.
Okay, but which is your favorite if you had to choose?
Oh my gosh, I can't.
If you had to, which you do.
First of all, you would like Halric because he looks like Khalid with short hair.
Okay.
Done deal. I'm telling you right now. He's also so sweet and innocent. Like, literally, they all go up to each other as a group and they're like, Armor, can you tell us what a heat cycle is like? Because we don't understand what's going on. And you can see all of their different personalities. Like, Chalice's like mouth is just hanging open. He's like, what the fuck? And then you see Snowa is like taking notes on everything that's happening.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Halric is like, how are babies made? But they give them so many personalities. I love it so much. I will say, if I had to pick probably any of them, it would either be Armor or Halric, probably. But it's hard. Like, I do love all of them.
I love it. Yeah, it sounds like a really good story.
It is so great. It has been a long time coming. So people who have read this and waited since 2022, you are all saints because I just read it and like fully finished it now. And I'm upset that I have to wait a week. So by all means, if you have not read this story, I highly recommend you go back through. I was breezing through it. It was a wonderful read from start to finish. It makes you laugh. It did make me cry, but I'm kind of weird like that. So maybe it won't make you cry. But ultimately, I loved this story. Highly recommend you read it. And I hope you join me in reading season 4 on March 7th.
So exciting. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Stranger. Stranger is one that I've been reading for a while. I think you started reading it after me, but you've also been reading it week to week for a while.
Yeah.
And so there are 67 episodes, 2 seasons, and this one is a boy love drama right up my alley. It's
yes.
The art. I know I say this every single time, and I know that I say that every single time too. But if I, like, this is probably one of my all-time favorites. There are just so many gorgeous panels. When I was going through and taking my notes for this last night, I was just stopping and staring at panels and then thinking, oh, wait, no, I have to take notes.
I know. And we have talked about this before. I do have, like, very specific moments in this one that, like, the art does grip my heart.
And there are so many. Okay, so I know that we've talked about this too. I will get into the story, but before I get into the story, the artist in this one very specifically focuses on their eyes. So Jiho's eyes. Jiho is the main character, and he has like the most gorgeous eyes, and the artist does so many things to do like different reflections off of them. Like there's our favorite one with the Christmas lights that they have. But then when I was going back and rereading it last night, there are so many others like that where it's just different moments and it brings different emotions every time. And this one is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, this would be my favorite story of all time if it weren't for a very specific, very forward plot that is... Jiho is 17 going on 18 in this series, and Woojung is, they never say his age, but it's like implied that he's like 30. So this specific plot, the age difference between them just gives me a bad feeling.
I know, and I don't know why they do this.
They didn't need, this story would have been perfect. Absolutely perfect if they had just made Jiho older.
Why not make him 20?
If he were 20, it would have been different for me. But
here's the one thing I will say, and here's something I don't know. Like, when it's in the fantasy worlds and stuff like that, I'm like, why do you write it this way? I do know that it comes into play that Jiho basically is like an orphan.
He is.
And so my only assumption is the reason that it comes into play is because, like, if he was 18, he would be on his own anyways. And so maybe, I just don't know.
Well, and then, okay, so I've read the novel for this one too. And in the novel, he is 20 going on 21.
Then why did they change it for the webcomic?
I think because the, like, age that you are considered an adult is different. So, like, you're... in Korea, I think. I don't know. This is just my guess, but, like, that's why. But I don't know.
Interesting.
That aside, this story is really, really good. So we start off with Jiho Kim, who is just run away from a bad living situation. He's basically, like, we know that he's an orphan. He's not an orphan because his dad is still alive. But he has run away from a bad home life when he was a teenager. He went to go live. He started living in shelters. The experience at the shelters was not good. So then he went back to the streets. He ends up living with this guy named Sugyeol. And Sugyeol is basically just like a guy who is a quote-unquote protector for these kids who come to live with him. Jiho is the oldest one. He's 17. He's about to be an adult. And there are a handful of other younger kids who also live there. And basically, Sugyeol lets them live there in exchange for them going and pickpocketing people and bringing in all that money into the home. So it's like he's taking advantage of them. Jiho is there also trying to just have, like, a home to live in, but then he takes care of those kids too. And so it's just a difficult situation. And basically, in the beginning, he is going to pickpocket someone, and they realize that that's what he's doing. So he ends up running away because he doesn't want to get caught and get arrested for pickpocketing. And so he goes back home to Sugyeol, and Sugyeol says, you know, you didn't make your quota today. You've not earned your keep. I know a better way that you can earn your keep. Basically, you need to go and be a sex worker now. You would work for guys, you would work for girls, like, this is what you need to do. And he gets mad at this because that's not his decision.
Yeah.
And he ends up fighting with Sugyeol, and that's why he leaves and goes and is basically on the street. And this is where, sad. I know, it's so sad. And this is where we see Woojung come in. And Woojung sees Jiho on the street, basically, and just stops his car and says, if you have nowhere to go, you can come with me. And Jiho is kind of, like, very suspicious of this. He's like, why? Like, you have no good intentions if you're doing that. But he has nowhere to go, so he does. He gets in the car and he goes with Woojung. And Woojung basically takes him back to his home and gives him food, gives him a place to stay the night, and says, like, it's okay, like, you don't have to do anything. I just, you know, am going to give you a place to kind of get back on your feet.
Yeah.
So he stays there for the night, the first night, and then he wakes, and then we find out also that Woojung is a prosecutor. So Jiho is, like, why would you let me into your house? What's to say that I'm not going to just rob you and run away? And Woo Jung basically gives him his business card and says, it would look really bad if I got robbed as a prosecutor, so please try not to rob me. So then the next day, Ji-ho wakes up and Woo Jung is gone. He's gone off to work, but he finds a credit card on the table and with a note that says, use it. And so then he's like, this is weird. Like, I still don't trust this. So he goes to the prosecutor's office just to make sure that Woo Jung is who he says he is. And he is. He finds Woo Jung there. They end up having lunch. And then things just kind of, like, start going from there. They start to develop a friendship first. We see that Woo Jung ends up introducing Ji-ho to another man named Mr. Seok. And he finds out that Mr. Seok kind of did the same thing that Woo Jung did to Ji-ho and, like, helped him out, bought him a house, bought him a car. And when Woo Jung was able to pay him back, he said, don't pay me back, pay it forward. And that's why Woo Jung picked up Ji-ho in the first place, is because he was told basically, like, don't give me back because I already have what I need. Go find someone else to help.
I love that.
That's, I mean, there's a whole movie on that.
It's so beautiful.
But
that movie, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's Pay It Forward, and I cry every time.
Yeah, because it's a sad movie.
It's so sad.
But anyway, so then we have their relationship developing from, it starts off as a friendship. Woo Jung is, like, really trying to help Ji-ho because Ji-ho is having a lot of, like, anger issues. He's really struggling. And we see that he's coming to terms with the fact that he has feelings for Woo Jung. And he, like, doesn't know how to deal with those. Like, he keeps envisioning killing Woo Jung. And he's, like...
Healthy.
But he's...
Healthy relationship.
Healthy relationship. He's also attracted to Woo Jung, so he, like, doesn't know what to do about this. Like, he's very conflicted about it.
Yeah.
And he's also very possessive. Like, he doesn't like Mr. Seok because he's like, I don't want Woo Jung to have any other relationships in my life, basically. So then we see that it's, you know, Christmas time. We have that beautiful panel where Ji-ho's looking into the window and you can see the Christmas lights in his eyes. It's the absolute most gorgeous panel.
It really is.
Ever. So he is kind of reminiscing and he remembers that the kids that he used to live with had this treat that they used to love, like basically like a sweet treat. And he finds that and so he buys it and he's going to take it to the house where the kids live. And when he goes there, he runs into Seok-yeol and Seok-yeol's kind of like, what are you doing back here? I told you to never come back. And starts fighting with him again. Ji-ho ends up getting like the shit beat out of him basically, but then also fights back. Like he has, you know, he attacks Seok-yeol back again and runs away because he's trying to get out of the situation.
Yeah.
And so he goes back home and Woo Jung, and he's basically like sick after this because he's had this fight. He's just not healthy. He's like fighting through all of this. Woo Jung takes care of him and says like, who did this to you? And then goes...
We all love a who did this to you.
We all love a who did this to you. And so he goes and he finds out who did it. And he gets him arrested, basically, because he's been doing illegal things. So, you know, it works out. So then we kind of take a jump to the next step in their relationship. It's New Year's Eve. And Ji-ho wants to spend New Year's Eve with Woo Jung. It's also his birthday. And so he's becoming an adult now. He's 18. And then he wants to spend his birthday with Woo Jung. Woo Jung ends up going out to a bar because he's like trying to distance himself from Ji-ho a little bit. And he brings home a lady that he meets at the bar. And Ji-ho is not happy about this at all. He ends up trying to like drag the lady out. And Woo Jung is like, stop, you're hurting her. Like, I'll take her out, basically. And so takes her out and comes back. And then Ji-ho ends up kind of like attacking Woo Jung. And Woo Jung is kind of trying to talk him through his feelings and saying, like, I know you feel like you want to, like, hurt me right now and you want to dominate me. And, like, you know, that's why you're trying to do this. Like, basically, he's trying to sexually assault him. He, like, rips open his shirt, and he's, like, trying to put his hands down Woo Jung's pants. And Woo Jung is like, you just want to have control of this situation. And that's why you want to hurt me. And, like, takes Jiho back a minute, and he's like, oh, is that what I'm doing? Like, what's going on? They have this talk about it, and then this is when Woo Jung finds out that he's, like, an adult now, because he's like, you know, you need to stay away from me, basically, because you're a minor, and this is not cool. Mm-hmm. And then when he finds out that Jiho's an adult, flip the switch, it's okay now. Which is...
that's the moment.
That's the moment.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's the plot point where we're like, ugh, I hate this.
It is my least favorite.
I hate it, but I still love the story.
Here's the thing. The story is a drama, and it is a beautiful story. I think that these stories, like, I mean, again, I've mentioned it with Follow the Breadcrumbs. It happens with Ingram's Lantern.
Yeah.
Like... I know that you had read the one, is it like The Dragon Sitter? And it was
Yeah, The Dragon Sitter is like very similar to that as well.
And it's just like, why are these so close to being grooming stories? It like makes you uncomfortable.
It makes me so uncomfortable. I kind of, in this case with this story, I just choose to like pretend that doesn't exist because I love this story.
Yeah.
So that's...
And it's, like, he's still an adult, but it's still like, ugh. It just leaves a gross taste in your mouth.
Yeah. I don't like it, but... It really has, like... When I first started reading this story, I made it to this point, and I remember telling you, like, I don't know if I even want to recommend that you read this one because I'm so conflicted on it.
It's a well-written story. I just don't feel like it adds anything to the plot. It just makes it weird for no reason.
Yeah. So... Moving past that, they end up hooking up at this point, basically. And then Jiho decides that he wants to get a job after this. So he, like, gets a job. He's starting to, like, grow and become his own person now.
I love that.
And, yeah, I love it. So we see that season 1 ends with them going to the beach. It's the winter. They end up staying at a hotel at the beach, and it's just like kind of a cute moment. This one has a ton of just like really cute moments. I adore it. So
you kind of need all the fluff as like a buffer.
Yeah, you really do. So season 2 comes back, and we have Jiho is coming back from work, and he hears on the TV that Seogyeol got arrested, and he hears that like the kids were taken to a home. So he's like freaking out because he's like, I had a bad experience at a home. This is not good. Like, what's going to happen to all of these kids now?
Yeah.
And so he is worried about that. He gets really mad at Woo Jung about this for like not telling him and for like meddling in the situation, basically. And then Woo Jung gives him some space, but like tells him, here's where the kids are so that you can go and see them. And so he goes to see the kids, and they are like, the home is like a nice group home. They're having a good time. Like, he sees them playing outside, and he feels like much better about this.
Yeah.
And this, I feel like, is a pivotal moment for their relationship, because this is when like he really starts to trust that like Woo Jung is like doing things that are going to be beneficial for him, like really trying to help him out. And he like, there's a really, really cute episode. I wrote it down, episode 38. Jiho becomes like super clingy. He basically is like following Woo Jung around the apartment the whole time, and there's like super cute chibi scenes in it too. I love this episode. It's just adorable.
You love chibis too.
I mean, if I haven't mentioned, I love the chibis. So then after this, Woo Jung has to go to a wedding, and he invites Jiho to go with him. The wedding is for some of his friends who are getting married that he knew from the orphanage. So it's like all of his group of friends basically from the orphanage are going to be there. And so they end up going, and Woo Jung introduces Jiho as his family. Yeah. And it's just like, again, a super cute moment, like where we see that their relationship is just developing. And Jiho has like this internal dialogue where he's thinking like, he introduced me as his family. Like, I don't feel like I've ever really had a family. Like, his family was not good. He ran away from his dad. His mom left them. Like, he just has never had a stable place. Yeah. And he feels like he's getting that with Woojung.
That's good.
So, moving on from that, we see that life, goes on. There are other cute moments. They go to the park. They go out to eat. Like, they're just doing all of these things together. And then Woojung gets sick, and we have basically a role reversal from earlier where Woojung was taking care of Jiho. Now we get to see Jiho take care of Woojung. It's just like a super cute full circle moment.
Yeah.
And then we also see that Jiho is still struggling with his jealousy. He sees Woojung having like lunch at a cafe with Mr. Seok's daughter, and he gets like super jealous about it. And Woojung kind of like helps him through this and helps him see like, it's okay that I interact with other people. Like, you are still a priority to me. Mm-hmm. And so that is like, basically he's just trying to help Jiho like get through all of these emotions and like help him through all of this trauma that he has.
Yeah.
So where we are now, Jiho is still working at this convenience store, and someone who his father works with comes in and recognizes him and says, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a while." Like,
probably for a reason.
Yeah, probably for a reason. And Jiho starts to get nervous. He's like, "Oh, he's going to tell my dad where I am," and he does. So Jiho's dad sees where he lives in this like nice high-rise building, and he comes up to Jiho and he says, "I owe people a lot of money and it's your fault. So you need to..."
Piece of shit.
Yeah. He is horrible. And so he's saying, "You need to get me this money because it's all your fault. Like, don't you want to help your dad?" All that stuff. And Jiho is kind of like, he considers killing him, as he has done multiple times in this series because he still has some anger issues.
Really? And that's not normal.
And but he doesn't. And then he...
Good.
So he does think that he doesn't want Woojung to know what's going on. Like, he is worried about how Woojung's going to react to this. And he's also worried that his dad is going to, like, go and ask Woojung for money directly. So he's like, I need to take care of this now.
Do you think it's kind of like him trying to keep up those appearances of, like, this isn't the life I have anymore, and, like, trying to create that separation?
Yeah, I think mostly it's like he doesn't want Woojung to see how bad it was before.
Yeah.
And he's also worried that his dad is going to go to Woojung and try and blackmail him for money.
Yeah.
And so he basically tells his dad, like, I don't have the money right now, but I'll get you the money. So he goes and he looks at his savings that he's had, like, all of his savings from the convenience store that he works at, basically. And it's not enough. So he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to get money really quickly. And then he runs into someone who he used to know from the orphanage, or not from the orphanage, but he used to know from a shelter. Mm-hmm. And the guy at the shelter worked at this, like, seedy, underground, illegal bar.
Yeah.
And so, but he knows that he can make a lot of money here. So Jiho says, can I come and work with you at this bar? And he does go and work with him at the bar. He ends up staying, and, like, some, not so great things are happening at the bar. Basically, this guy says, like, here, you can have this huge tip, but you have to come and, like, take it out of my hand with your mouth. And he does. And then another guy, he's, like, going to the bathroom, and another guy, like, tries to attack him in the bathroom, basically, and, like, says, like, come here, like, whatever. And Jiho, like, tries to push past him, ends up getting hurt. Like, the guy ends up smacking him across the face, and he's got, like, blood on his face now. And so Jiho's trying to, like, escape this situation. He's like, this is not good. I just need to leave. Like, I've gotten money that I need, so it's time to go. And he's running out of this bathroom. He ends up running into another room where you see a guy who looks passed out. Mm-hmm. And then he goes and he sits down. He's trying to just, like, collect his thoughts, collect himself, and get ready. And then we see the prosecutors walk in. And who is there for the prosecutors but Woo Jung? And we see that the guy who was in the room and passed out is not passed out. He's actually dead.
Oh, my God.
And that is where we leave off.
How seedy does the bar have to be that your safe space is next to somebody who's passed out so bad that you can't tell the difference between them being alive and dead?
Yeah. And to be fair, he, like, wasn't paying attention.
I mean,
he's trying to escape the situation.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all.
But, I mean, this plot line is another one that's, like, a really, you know, pivotal moment plot line. Mm-hmm. Once we get through this. I said this at the beginning. I've read the novel. I know what's going to happen, so I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything. But yeah, you should be excited. This series is so good. The growth between the two characters, I just absolutely love them both. I love their relationship. I just love it. It's such a good series, and I just adore this one. So I'm so excited for this one to come back.
I know. It's only like another week or so.
Yeah.
So we could do this. We can wait. So moving on forward to talk about another series that is returning here in March. This is one of my personal favorites, Finding Camellia. This is currently at the end of season 3 with 97 episodes, and it is a romance period piece. There's actually going to be a spin-off episode releasing on March 8th. So we're looking forward to that one coming on Friday. But also the series returns for season 4 on March 30th, which based on my reading of the novel, I'm assuming is going to be the last season. Mm-hmm. Now, we have done a deep dive into Finding Camellia, so I'm not going to put everybody through that again because I would never shut up. But if you do want to hear that deep dive, you can listen back to our Finding Camellia novel versus webcomic episode where we do a deep dive comparing the both of them. I will say I have talked in depth about how season 3 was not very accurate to the book itself, and there are some very fundamental things. So automatically I'm very curious how season 4 is going to go because they really took some of those very pivotal moments from season 4 and then put them into season 3, and they just kind of brushed past it. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious where everything's going. I have no idea, and it's kind of like I'm reading a new series at this point. So with season 3 recap, we are basically left with Claude at war. Mm-hmm. Obviously, his father, the Grand Duke, was essentially poisoned by somebody, and they assume that it was the Gaior Kingdom, so they are going to war with them now. And Claude had stayed at Camelia's bedside when she had a fever and realizes now that Camellia is a girl. Mm-hmm. Like, he sees her in her nightgown. He's able to see that she has boobs, which, you know, it's a little bit self-explanatory at that point. And so as Claude leaves for war, he basically tells Wade that he found his clematis, which is the sign in his kingdom of the woman of his house. And as Camellia wakes up, you know, she's feeling better from her fever, etc. She realizes that he's left the clematis brooch on her bedside. She thinks nothing of this. She does not understand the significance whatsoever. She's just like, oh gosh, he left this. I'll keep it safe. And she puts it, you know, wraps it in like a little velvet box and sets it aside. Now, as they kind of move forward, you do see a conversation between Marilyn Selby and Princess Rosina. And Rosina is just kind of trying to like gather all the information as to how the Grand Duke was killed, etc. And Marilyn's family is kind of on blast right now. Like, there are suspicions that her father was involved since he had the tea making company and he was poisoned in his tea. So Marilyn, to kind of divert from all of this, accuses Camillus of trying to sexually assault her. And says, like, oh, Claude was there, like, trust me, because Claude would vouch for me. Like, it happened. So Rosina is conflicted. This is her friend from childhood. She ends up sending Kieran, her fiance, and Camelius' brother, to the battlefields to get word from Claude. She's like, I really do need to know what happened, because that's a huge claim. And Kieran takes Camellia with him to the battlefield. because he's like, oh, I'm sure that it would bring up somebody's spirits to have you there, and you can come with me as well. So Kieran kind of has his own reason for going. Camellia is just going because she wants to see Claude. Mm-hmm. And so in this moment, they're looking at the flag and everything on the battlefield, and Kieran goes into deep description of how the flag is made up of the two different segments, which is the eagle, which represents the male of the house Delahar, and then the clematis, which is the wife, essentially, of Delahar. And she, like, immediately out loud is like, oh my God, he left this brooch with me. How embarrassing. And Kieran very quickly realizes this was not a mistake. So Kieran is like piecing together all this information. He's like, not only does my friend now know that my sister is a girl, but now he wants to marry my sister, who is known to everybody else as a man. So as if it wasn't confusing enough. Camellia does end up going to meet up with Claude, and she really, in this moment, like realizes her feelings. So you know, she just really kind of embraces the fact that she knows that she's in love with him. And Claude has made no secret about the fact that he is in love with her. And basically, they go to the hill where they're able to oversee Ian Sergio's camp. And he kisses her on purpose, knowing that Ian is able to see them. But basically, it's just his way of like trying to claim, this is my Camellia now. So he basically gifts Camellia his father's horse, and they end up leaving. And he does give word to Kieran on what Rosina is wanting him to report on. Mm-hmm. So as they return, they basically have a huge discussion. It is Marilyn Selby and Camellia and Rosina and Kieran all sitting down together to really get to the bottom of what happened. And Claude vouches for Camellia and says Camellia did not do this. He also says, I have found the owner of my clematis. And this takes Rosina by surprise because last she's heard from Kieran, this is in Camellia's possession. And so now that it's been debunked that Camellia did not try to sexually assault Marilyn is taken away. There was also proof in the letter about Marilyn's father's involvement in the assassination of the Grand Duke. And so basically, like, her nobility status is gone at this point. And Camellia just kind of comes out and says, thank you for believing me, Princess Rosina, but also you should know I definitely didn't do this because I'm a woman. So Camellia's just kind of finding her own. She wants to be able to be open with all of these different people at this point. And basically, you know, Camellia is just kind of finding her way. She's like, you know what? I feel like I need to leave this life behind and I need to go back. So Camellia tries to go to Louvre. And she is immediately confronted by Anastasia, who says, you don't just get to escape this life. Camellia has to die before Camellia can go back to existing again. Mm-hmm. And it's really fucked up. Not that we expected anything better from Anastasia, especially if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's pretty wild. So we do see that Claude and Ian kind of come to make a peace offer. They essentially decide that Ian's brother has to die. And so Ian joins forces with them. And Ian basically says, I'll do it as long as I get Camellia. And Claude immediately like shoots a hole through the flag because it's a fucking warning shot. He's lucky I didn't shoot him instead because I could have. But they end up kind of coming to a peace offering, and there is hope that the war is going to end sooner rather than later. Camellia is writing countless letters to Louvre. She's trying to get in contact with her mother. And I think just try to like find her place. Like I think she feels very lost. But in the meantime, Rosina's really helping her to embrace the fact that she's a woman. Rosina loves knowing now that Camellia is a girl because she's really able to like bond with her on a different level. Mm-hmm. She's like, I've always wanted a sister kind of energy. But Camellia goes to her graduation, and it's kind of a weird situation because her father, Gellard Bale, had actually been taken captive during the war. And so, like, she was told you should go to your own graduation. And then other people kind of start looking down on Camellia because they're like, why would you be here and not, like, worrying about with your family about your father? And so there's this weird, like, double standard of what the fuck was I supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And Camellia just kind of, like, further agrees, like, no, I need to continue living my life for me. Like, I need to escape as Camellia. Like, I can't keep doing this. So she ends up running into her tailor, Frank, who is working with the rebels out of Louvre. And he basically proposes to her, like, you should leave this aristocracy behind and you should rob your family and come back to Louvre. Like, your mom would welcome you with open arms, etc. And he basically says, like, if you want to see your mom again, I can do this, and gives her some information on where she can go and everything like that. Rosina and Camellia drink together because Camellia is just kind of overwhelmed with everything that's been going on. And the war is declared over. So she's just kind of like looking forward to having her family back. She finds out that her father has also been rescued. And so I think like she kind of gets to take that breath of fresh air. So Rosina just kind of gives her a place to stay within the palace. She's like, this is your space, you know, like you're welcome here whenever you want. And Rosina and Kieran really do have such a wonderful relationship. So I do love how accepting Rosina is of Camellia right away. But Camellia, in like her tipsy little, you know, just having fun moment, kind of turns around, sees Claude, and has what she thinks is like one of the most vivid sexual dreams ever. And she's just like, oh yeah, I've had a couple of these about Claude. Like, wish he was here, but, you know, obviously their procession isn't until tomorrow. So I'll get to see them at the celebration then. And when she goes to this celebration, she sees Claude with like bite marks and stuff that she put on him in the dream. And she immediately comes to the realization that she definitely hooked up with Claude the night before. Mm-hmm. It happens a little different in the novel. We're not even going to get into it. But a lot of people were like, wow, that's fucked up. And all I can tell everyone is read the novel as well. Like, I love the webcomic adaptation. The art is beautiful, but that's my aside. Basically, they all go to this return ceremony, and you do see Camellia on, like, the outside of even her own family. Like, Gellert immediately takes Kieran and Anastasia into his arms, and Camellia is just standing there by herself. And so the only person to take Camellia into his arms is Claude. Very quickly, and he is not shy at all. Like, he is wrapping his cape around her, and like he's practically kissing her in front of everybody, and she gets really shy at this. He's doing this and even pursuing her at the ball, and she's getting very uncomfortable. She's like, I am still Camellia's. Like, obviously, you know I'm a woman now, which I'm processing. Mm-hmm. But like, you can't just pursue me in front of all these people. And rumors do start going around that Claude is gay. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, Camellius and Claude, they're together. That's fucking weird. And he's like, nah, she's a woman, but I can't tell anyone that. So they end up hooking up for 3 days in the palace. They leave the ball together and they end up hooking up. And basically Claude is immediately enraged because he sees all of these bruises and just the damage that these bindings that Camellia wore for years have done to her body. He leaves in a rage, confronts Kieran, and is like, what kind of a fucking coward wouldn't stand up for their sister knowing that she's going through all of this? And it's a huge tumultuous moment in their friendship. He does also punch him in the face. I think it was warranted at this point. Mm-hmm. And when he goes back, Camellia is like, just traumatized that Claude is mad at her or like disappointed at how she looks, etc. And so he's kind of trying to express to her, like, I think you're the most beautiful person in the world. Like, we'll get the bruises to go away and I will keep you safe from now on. Like, now that I know what's going on, like, you're not going near anybody who's going to hurt you. I will take care of you. So as they emerge from their passion-filled nights together, they find out that Camellia has now been essentially accused of robbing her family because all of these diamonds are now missing. And, you know, fucking the man that you love for 3 nights in a row is a pretty good alibi. You can't exactly say that when you're both presumed to be a man, but Claude makes it pretty clear in no uncertain terms that they were together and that didn't fucking happen. Mm-hmm. So Camellia is trying to do some digging. She ends up like just kind of thinking back to the fact that, you know, she was approached by Frank about everything that was going on in Louvre, and she thinks that they're involved. So she ends up going to the dressmaking shop, and they do take her like downstairs into the cellar where she's able to basically look upon a room where her mom is. And she kind of has this bittersweet moment because what she's gripped onto for so long is my mom wants me. Like, my mom is waiting for me. Like, I'm waiting for her and we'll be reunited. And she's like, I just need to make up for the fact that my mom hurt Kieran as a kid. Like, that's all I need to do. And then I can go back to life as Camellia. And she sees her mom being happy. And it's like a really hard pill to swallow because she's like, I feel like I've just been miserable. And here's my mom like doing well. Does she even want me back? Mm-hmm. Does she even realize I'm gone at this point? Like, it's been so long. And as she goes to leave the shop, Claude rips the door open and he's like, you need to close your eyes. And he carries her out. It turns out that all of the people there in this dress shop who were involved with the rebel forces have been murdered and killed by Imperial forces. And he's basically trying to make it clear to her, like, your connection to Louvre right now will incriminate you. Like, that's what Anastasia wants. So don't give her that because it's just going to get you in trouble. Claude does reveal in this moment in the webcomic that Rosina had been intercepting all of her letters to Louvre because during the war, they were also kind of looking into all of the rebel forces within Louvre, and they didn't want any sort of a bad reflection on Claude or Camellia, especially since Rosina knew the intent was for Claude and Camellia to get married and be together. Mm-hmm. She's like, I can't have this come back on the Delahar name. And Claude apologizes and proposes to Camellia, which she refuses. She says, you know, we can't have these kinds of secrets with each other. My background from Louvre won't go away. And so this isn't something that you should have to hide for the rest of your life. But basically, as she denies all of this, you do realize that Anastasia had framed Camellia. It has all backfired now because Claude was able to use his influence to kind of brush over this and kind of unveil a lot of that truth. And basically, Rosina and Claude kind of go and prepare a beautiful ball gown for Camellia. They're like, one day you will wear this. Like, one day you will be above all of the different rumors, all of your past, etc. And you'll be whoever you want to be, whether that's part of the aristocracy, you want to go back to Louvre, whatever it is. Like, here's a dress to embody you. And it's stunning. And in this moment, Camellia is just like, I don't know when or if I'm ever going to be able to wear this dress, but whatever. She ends up going out with Kieran and Wade, and Ian is there now, which she's a little confused about, but Ian has been invited to the Cayenne Empire by Anastasia Bale, who is throwing a grand ball, mysteriously. Mm-hmm. So she's meeting up with all these men. Claude and Ian kind of race off because they've decided between the two of them that whoever wins this horse race is going to win a prize from Camelius. And so they both get very competitive about this and race off. And Kieran comes up to Camellia and basically explains that it has been common knowledge within the family for years that her mother, Laura, was not involved in Kieran almost dying at all. It was his own mother, Anastasia Bale.
Yeah.
So Camellia is just kind of struggling with all of this. She jumps into a practically frozen lake and she's just like, I could honestly die. And Claude dives in to save her. And conflicted with everything, she basically just kind of like word vomits everything that she's feeling to Claude. And she says, you know what? I'm revealing everything at this grand ball. Like, Anastasia can't get away with this forever. Camellia goes to the butler of the Bale household who said that he had witnessed Camellia stealing the diamonds. And he confesses to Camellia that it was Anastasia who gave the robbers the diamonds, but that he can't go against the house that he serves. Like, he's in a very difficult position. And basically, as she leaves talking to this butler, Ian comes up to her and basically says, like, you know, I've really missed you. You know, I want to be with you. I do see that you and Claude have gotten closer. Do I have a chance there? And she's kind of fumbling with her words, like, doesn't know what to say. Like, she had just had a fight with Claude, but she does know how she feels and she loves him. And Ian says, I won the horse race. I want a kiss from you. And he goes to pull her in, like, without the consent at first, and she pushes him away. And so Ian just kind of says, he's like, I'm going to stop pursuing you against your wishes at this point. Like, it's up to you if you want me, but like, I'm here and I want you, essentially. And so she has like all of these different things going on. The grand ball happens and Lady Anastasia just makes a huge deal in front of everybody and makes up this outlandish story that, oh, Kieran was sick when he was young, so we paid for a handmaid to, you know, give birth to another heir because I was so weak. And then she changed her mind and took the child with her. And then, you know, she just wanted to use Camelius to extort money from us, but I accept Camelius as my own. And everyone goes, you're so brave. And meanwhile, you know, you have Claude and Ian who know what's going to happen, just sipping their drinks, you know, like, oh, this is about to get interesting. Mm-hmm. Camellia then just like barges in the beautiful gown that Claude and Rosina had made for her and confronts Anastasia about everything. And so she's like, you're the one who framed me. I've been a woman the whole time. And Anastasia is like trying to make up for, she's like, oh, you're just a man in a dress trying to embarrass me. And it's not working. It's almost like she has two fully developed boobs and looks like a woman and has looked like a woman for a while now. Mm-hmm. So essentially this all just kind of lets loose. And Gellert essentially tells all of the guests to leave. And as soon as it's a more private affair, like it's Claude and the Bale family and Ian, Gellert slaps Anastasia across the face. And he says, Ian, we made a pact when you saved me in the war that I would give you my daughter's hand in marriage. So go take your wife to Gaior. And Camellia is distraught at the fact that she's essentially being sold off to someone that she doesn't love. She loves Ian, but not in the way that he wants to be loved. And she loves Claude, and now she's being told she can't. And she's been sick of her life being decided for her for a while now, so it just kind of all overflows. And so as she runs away and Claude chases after her, you see Rosina walk up to Claude, and she says, one of the maids that was here at the grand ball is Marilyn. It's Marilyn Selby, and so Camelia's in trouble. Mm-hmm. Like, something's going on. This isn't okay. And you see Camellia has gotten into a car, and in the final panels, there are car headlights just very quickly approaching head on to Camellia, and they end up in a car crash. So this is the end of season 3. We, again, will get a spin-off episode on March 8th. I have no idea what to expect.
I hope the spin-off episode is just Ian.
I hope it's just the fucking bathtub scene that we've all wanted.
It could be, but I just want it to be Ian.
Back. It's just entirely smut. That's what I want, okay?
You can want that. I just want Ian. I would be fine, like, if it's just Ian frolicking in a field by himself.
You would be. I don't dislike Ian, but I would prefer that it's something else.
I love Ian.
But anyways, season 4 is coming up March 30th. And to be honest, I really don't know what to expect with this one.
Yeah.
Like, I know the general gist of what's going to happen because of the novel, which I highly recommend to anyone and everyone who wants to read it. But again, the webcomic is kind of taking a different turn, so it'll at least be a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this one to come back just to see how different or same it is to the novel now. Yeah. If they try and, like, bring it back, or if they just, you know, take the approach of this is a completely different story now.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. All right, well, the next one that is coming back is Paljae, Child of Winter. I am so excited about this one. This is, like, a very interesting story. I'm not going to do a recap like we've been doing the recaps for the other series in this episode because it's just kind of impossible, really, for this one. There are 87 episodes right now, and this is a story about Paljae and Manryong. Mm-hmm. And basically they're not humans. They're just like different deities, basically, mm-hmm. or different beings that are kind of intertwined. Like, their fates are just intertwined. They've both been alive for like 600 plus years.
Oh my gosh.
And are just like, but they also don't have memories of their past. Like, Manryong has sealed his past away, and Paljae can't remember his past either. So, like, they keep coming together and going apart and coming together and going apart, like, over and over again. Mm-hmm. And this one is a really, really interesting story. So it has a ton of flashbacks and, like, tangent stories that go, like, really, really in depth into side characters or into setting the scene. There is a lot of Korean mythology and lore to it. So there's a lot of explanation that comes in. So like there's, you learn about the different realms. There's the celestial realm, the underworld, the mortal realm. You learn about the 4 heavenly beasts, which we know that Paljae is the heir to to one of those beasts, the turtle. And he is basically the heir of winter. And we also learn that Munryong is a Doseon or a Dosa, and so he uses talismans and can control the elements and different things like that. So it's a very, very interesting story, but when I go back to say, like, what has happened, I really can't.
It sounds like the plot is really intricate.
It's very intricate, very detailed. Honestly, it's one where, like, I know what has happened throughout. Like, we've seen how Munryong is related to, we see when they meet. Like, basically, we see when Munryong meets Paljae. And we also see that this is, like, when Munryong gets his like powers, and basically like that's what makes him be able to live like these 600 years.
Yeah.
We see that, Paljae is kind of like the wild child of the heavenly deities, and he has killed a ton of people, and he basically has escaped from the heavenly realm, and they're trying to like rein him in and control him. There's just a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So the art is like very watercolor style.
Beautiful.
So it's just gorgeous to look at. That being said, where we are right now, we see that Munryong was adopted basically by a human father, like single father, who just like found this baby and took him in. And so
a single mom who works 2 jobs.
Yeah, who loves her kids and never stops. He
It's just Reba McEntire.
He runs away from his dad because he knows that his dad is like going to die if he stays with him, so he tries to run away from him. His dad has his tongue cut out so he can't speak, and so he runs away basically. He's like, I need to get out of here. And he happens upon Paljae, and Paljae is, at this point, they're both young. Like, it's interesting because at this point they're both young. Like, Munryong is like 10, Paljae is like 3. But Paljae looks like an adult at this point, but he says that he's only been in the world for 3 years.
I mean, it's deity time.
Yeah.
Who are we to say?
And then also, like, later on, like, he looks like a child, but he's actually, like, 600 years old. So there's just, like, time means nothing in this series.
That's fine.
It's so interesting. And so, like, we see that basically Munryong is putting on, like, these herbs to Paljae's stomach. He has this huge stomach wound, and he's trying to help him. Munryong also has like a leg injury that he's trying to help him too. And basically we see that Munryong can't go out into the sun. He's like he's known as being like one of the most beautiful beings. He's very pale. He has long, gorgeous, flowing silver hair. He's blind, and not always, but he's blind like in the current timeline. But in some of the flashbacks, he's not. So when he was 10, he was not blind at this point. But basically, like, they're hiding out in this underwater cave, and they stay there for a long time. They end up leaving this cave. This is also a flashback. So, like, after that is over, we see that the other heavenly deities are coming down, and they're trying to attack Paljae. And Paljae saves Munryong and is like, okay, you go, I'll distract them, basically, and ends up saving him. But then we jump forward in time, or jump back to where we were before, where we see that in a different time, they were on a ship, and they end up going down with the ship, and they end up in this kind of like underwater world where there's like this being that eats souls, and then all the souls that have like been from shipwrecks go and they end up being stuck here. And so they're stuck in this like world, but they end up being able to get out. And Munryong uses a talisman to like get this one guy out, and then they end up, saving themselves later. But Munryong gets injured in the process, and so they go back, and Paljae has to get some other people who are also like herbal medicine people to help him out and try and like help Munryong come back, because he's like basically in a coma at this point. So Munryong comes back, and then Paljae has like his powers have grown. He is like basically he looks like he used to look before. Yeah. So he's just like grown into this like giant man with hair all the way down his back. And so they end up having like an intimate moment where Paljae is like, he doesn't understand emotions because he's kind of lost like all of his memories. And so he's like, each time he experiences a new emotion, Munryong is like, you always get obsessed with emotions. And so he's like, I will teach you like, I'll teach you these intimacy emotions for 3 days, and then we have to leave. And so they do that. And then they go back to where they're trying to, like, Munryong is still injured. He's got, like, injuries on his back. And Paljae is, like, being super clingy to him now and, like, trying to help him. But Munryong's getting, like, very annoyed by it. He's like, leave me alone. I need some space, please. So he ends up leaving and, like, going out to the river. Paljae is like, absolutely not, and goes with him into the river. And he's like, are you mad at me because I'm bigger than you now? And Munryong is like, I need you to calm down.
Calm your tits.
Yeah. And that's basically where we leave off. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going to guess where this story is going next, because it could jump back to another flashback. Who knows? There's just so many possibilities. This story is really worth it. You have to focus on it, though. I would say now that it's further along, like, it's even better. I don't like this one, like, waiting week to week as much as I did, reading it 70 episodes at once.
It's probably harder to keep track of the timeline.
It is harder to keep track of the timeline when you're doing that. So I don't know. This might be one where, like, even though it comes back, I might wait and let, some episodes build up so that I can read more of the story at once instead of reading just week over week. So we'll see. But I adore this story. It's so good. It's so interesting to learn about, like, all of this different mythology and stuff. Like, it's almost like when you were talking about restoring art and love, how you learned so much, you felt like you took an art history class.
Yeah.
This is the same. Like, I feel like I'm taking a mythology class, just learning so much about all of this old Korean mythology. So highly, highly recommend reading this one and catching up if you have not read it yet.
Now that I haven't read it, maybe I'll have to read it in, like, one solid chunk.
Yeah.
Just so I can digest it all at once.
Yeah, you can read, like, the first 2 seasons and then, go from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm super looking forward to it. Last but very much not least, for the month of March, we do have some new titles that are going to be airing on Manta as well. These 4 titles are Keeping My Boss on a Tight Leash, which airs on March 5th. Till Divorce Do Us Part, March 14th. My Sweet Dear on March 21st, as well as The Fairy Legacy on March 25th. I know personally the one that just really spoke to my demented and deranged self was Keeping My Boss on a Tight Leash. It's apparently a story about a woman who works in an office, and she really hates her boss. And the boss is not a fan of her either. But apparently, like, she ends up stumbling upon him, like, after work hours, and he is shapeshifted into, like, a dog human, and he imprints on her. It's giving the Jacob from Twilight vibes, but, like, definitely not an infant, so thank God for that. But honestly, I'm really excited to see it, between, like, the fantasy aspects and the fact that it sounds like an enemies to lovers office romance.
Yeah, it does. It's a really interesting take on an enemies to lovers office romance.
So I'm really excited about that one. And I am excited for all of them, but that's the one that really stands out to me.
Yeah. So the one that I'm really excited about is My Sweet Dear, which is about a chef who gets threatened by a total stranger and they have to like battle it out. So this one is not titled Enemies to Lovers, but it is titled Love Hate. So very similar vibes to that. Yes. And we also find out that Do-gung, who's the chef, he has a touch phobia, but he doesn't seem to have this touch phobia with Jung-woo, who is the stranger who threatens him, and they have this love-hate relationship. So this one it's not exactly office romance, but it is workplace romance, because we're seeing that he's, working as a chef, and there's, all of this like kind of love-hate animosity going on. So I'm very excited to see this one. Also, the cover art looks just super cute.
Yeah, it does look really wholesome and adorable.
Not so much like the leash one that you want to read.
But that's why I'm not as excited. No. So thank you so much for joining us on the March recap and preview. We're super excited for this month's releases, so we hope that you can join us in reading some returning series as well as some of the new ones. Let us know which ones have you excited, and it's definitely a great time to just be keeping an eye on Manta Comics. So looking forward to what's coming out and what'll come out in the future. Looking forward to talking to you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.